college food insecurity. I'm a doctoral candidate at Ball State University, and I am going to graduate this semester. In the room today, we have people representing Ivy Tech Community College leadership, national and local governments, community agencies, neighborhood associations, hunger advocacy groups, as well as college students, faculty, staff, researchers from several out-of-state universities, concerned citizens who are simply here to help alleviate hunger, not only for community college students, but also for all people. A number of people helped make this exhibit possible. Many of the departments are noted in your program. However, I started working with Stephanie Robertson about a year ago. She's our program chair for fine arts, and without her support and help, I couldn't have made this exhibit possible. So nine students participated in this research. Several are here in the room today. Many may not identify themselves because they want to protect their identities, and I'm honoring that. Other students could not attend today because they're in class or they graduated in May and they're working. A few students told me from the very first day I met them and explained the nature of this type of research that they wanted to speak today.
So they're going to do that in just a few minutes.
I really appreciate their courage and their candor for coming forward on this important issue. I selected the photo voice methodology because it is designed to bring attention to important issues, and it allows participants to share their experiences with the community. So all of you here today are the community for these students. As noted in your program, the students took these photos based on prompts, and their photos and narratives in their own words are displayed throughout the gallery. The students helped create the interactive elements that you see today. The refreshments were created by hospitality students in nutrition class who took food typically found in a food pantry and made it delicious for us to eat today. There are also cookies and lemonade and tea, I think. Next, I'd like to introduce Dr. Lee, Chancellor for Ivy Tech Community College, Central Indiana, to share a few words.
Thank you, Mary. I'm going to come around here a little bit further because the crowd is getting bigger and bigger, and we all want to be able to see, and I just want to make him move the camera there. I've known Mary Hennihan for a long, long time. We predate Ivy Tech, and so I could tell lots of stories, but they're not for today. That's for some other time. But I can honestly tell you that as long as I've known Mary, she's had a passion. And a passion for many things, but always, always around alleviating hunger. The work that she's done at our mutual church has called her to that topic. And so I wasn't surprised when I found out what the topic of her dissertation was going to be. This is truly important work. And the implications of the research that she's done and the thoughts that her project are sharing with us are life-changing in many ways. And they are critical to our student success and completion. Now, a fact, in Indiana, 1 in 8 residents and nearly 1 in 5 Marion County residents are food insecure. So if we counted off in here, 1 of every 5 of us would be raising our hands as being food insecure. In the community college world, insecurity is a growing problem. Just recently visited Alamo Community College in San Antonio last week. Heard the same story from them as they were attempting to address the food insecurity of their student population. A national 2018 survey indicated that 48% of students in two-year colleges are food insecure. 48%. Students who are hungry are less focused on their coursework. Students with low incomes who do not have their basic needs met are less likely to complete a credential. These students often leave college to work and meet their immediate needs. Go to class, feed my family, we know which one's going to win out there. These students leave, and nationally 70% of the community college students do not complete a credential. And so much of it is wrapped around their individual and family needs. So Mary's work today is very important to us, and we are very proud that she chose to share this message with us. It's my pleasure to introduce our provost, Dr. Kara Monroe, who will speak on behalf of Dr. Ellspermann.
Thank you, Kathy. Good afternoon. I have not had the privilege of knowing Mary quite as long as Kathy has, although we have known each other for a long time. But I did have the opportunity to see some of the work that was crucial to her doing this work when Mary and her classmates, some of them are in the room today in the graduate class at Ball State, explored some of these same questions for adjunct faculty and staff. Not only are our students food insecure, but even some of our faculty and our staff who do have steady incomes, just because of the situation in Indiana with the number of food deserts that we have, particularly in this area, they also suffer from food insecurity. So it was interesting to see that work in that context, and now to see it in this context for our students. Dr. Ellspermann does regret that she couldn't be here. She's on a flight right now to Washington, D.C., where she is going to be testifying before the House Subcommittee on Artificial Intelligence and the Future of Work. So she gets an excused absence for today. I want to recognize, I know a few of the board members for our Central Indiana Board of Trustees are here. I will miss someone if I try to call you out, but if you would raise your hand around the room, if you would please join me in thanking those folks for the support that they provide to us and to our students, and for dealing with issues like food insecurity. Would you join me in giving them When Mary first started talking about this project, she and Dr. Ellspermann were speaking on it, and we have a board of trustees here at the statewide level, in addition to our campus boards, that are very interested in understanding how they can remove barriers to success for our students, like food insecurity, like housing. And we know that this research is directly connected to our strategic plan goal 1, particularly strategy 1.1, the very first thing in our strategic plan about ensuring that students' basic needs are met. I don't know about the rest of you, but if I'm hungry, I really can't do much of anything. I can't focus on what I'm doing. I can't think about those tasks. This fall, Ivy Tech is going to participate for the very first time in the Real College Survey. It's a Hope Center survey that's going to help us determine the prevalence of food insecurity in our own student population, so that we can see how we compare directly against some of the statistics that Dr. Lee read. The results of that survey will help us then focus our strategies on helping meet student basic needs. And we have a lot more work that we need to do with food pantries on our campuses. As we visit the campuses around the state, we see food pantries on almost every one of them now, as well as little grab-and-go centers, or that office of that advisor where you know they always have snacks on the table in that office. It's a very common strategy that our students learn. I know there are a few students here who participate in the research who would like to share a few of their words, and I'm very excited to hear from them. And so the first one, I believe, is Jim. Hi, Jim.
Bear with me, I took interpersonal communications, not speech, so I wrote this out. My name is Jim Smith. I graduated in 2019 from the Human Services Department, Human Service Social Work. I graduated 4.0 GPA and averaged 96.8% over 3 years in my classes. I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I did it with advice given by an advisor here at Ivy Tech. They said, ask questions, show up, and do the work. And that's what I did, and it turned out great. The path I took to get right where I'm at now spanned 50 years, including careers in ventures such as professional sales, business ownership, supervisor, police officer, 18-year opioid addict, and finally incarcerated individual. for trespassing. I stand here before you and I say Ivy Tech prepared, and I guess they call them hashtags or taglines, so if Ivy Tech wants to use that, you can. And why I say I'm Ivy Tech prepared, Ivy Tech changed my life and prepared me and my family in the following ways. I find myself better prepared than most students as I furthered my education at Martin University. I'm a junior there. I'm poised to regain financial control of my life after the bankruptcy of addiction. I'm able to overcome the stigma of incarceration and be considered for opportunities that I otherwise would have been disqualified for. My wife was prepared by Ivy Tech to obtain a bachelor's degree at Indiana University, a master's degree at Ball State, and become a nurse practitioner, thus alleviating the life-retarding events such as food insecurity. I got involved in this project when completing my internship for Human Services at the Bare Necessities Food Pantry on the campus here. Until I met Mary and began working on this project, I didn't really know what the term food insecurity is, or realize how many times I had faced food insecurity in my life. And only then did I start to examine the reasons why. I grew up in a single parent household and basically lived hand to mouth. Again, I say I became addicted to opioid painkillers after a doctor prescribed it in the mid-age 30. And he continued to prescribe them even after I identified them as a problem. Because of addiction, food became an afterthought as expensive opioid pills took precedence over everything else. And even when it was necessary to eat, poor quality food was the fare due to financial insecurity caused by the manifestations of addiction. And as recently as just before I began this project, while I was a full-time student, my wife was a registered nurse, we faced food insecurity again between the time she received her master's degree and became credentialed to be a nurse practitioner. I've witnessed firsthand the power of education in overcoming circumstances which might cause food insecurity. Limited opportunities when someone becomes excluded due to poor life choices or mistakes. Generational poverty such as that which my family faced when I was young, and situational poverty such as which I just described to you with my wife changing employment. And financial hardship after enduring a crisis such as an illness, such as addiction. When Mary asked me to speak, I found a word with two definitions, and I'll kind of explain those. Definition 1 for vision is defined as the act or power of seeing. Definition 2 for vision is the act or power of imagination, foresight, and conceiving. When I started to work for the food pantry, I realized the need at Ivy Tech. Where food insecurity was concerned. I had vision, the second definition, for the food pantry. And during my internship, I had the time and resources to promote that vision to reality. The idea was to visit classrooms campus-wide, which we did in Human Services, and they donated, but we wanted to take it campus-wide and explain that there was indeed a food pantry on campus and acclimate students to the process of using and donating to the food pantry. I attempted to get an email to all the faculty and asking for 5 minutes of their instruction time to visit classrooms, to no avail. I followed the proper protocol for someone in my position, but somehow the request was lost in the white noise of the process. Now it's where you all come in. Many times while sitting outside the food pantry, I witnessed the faculty leaving meetings on the second floor. I accepted that these meetings are important for the vision, second definition, where Ivy Tech was going. But I hoped that someone would give me the assistance I needed and would direct their vision towards me sitting outside the food pantry and see if we needed anything. It will give me the ability to speak to them about getting that email out. The visions of the faculty imagined in those meetings cannot be carried out without the support of a student body who have their bare necessities fulfilled, making the marriage of knowledge and function, staff and student, a reciprocal endeavor. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jill Lyons. I am a current student here at Ivy Tech. I am on track to graduate in in the end of spring semester in May of next year. Okay, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. I'm 48 years old. I am a recovering alcoholic. I will have 2 years of sobriety on October the 5th. And I also have 2 children who unfortunately do not live with me currently. They are with my parents. So after a relapse in 2017, after incarceration for my 3rd DUI, I went to a women's recovery home called the Dove Recovery House. It's located at in 3400 block, or actually 3351 North Meridian Street. I lived there for 13 months, and I decided in the summer of 2018 to go back to school and pursue a degree in human services. I had worked in the sales field for most of my adult life, and decided I wanted to do something more meaningful with the remainder of it. I'm a little nervous. So after I moved out on my own in February of this year, I applied for food stamps. This was really a great benefit for me since I was living on my financial aid and student loans. I received $194 a month, which was good. But as I stated, I also have 2 children, and they visit me frequently. And because I don't have primary custody of them, I do not receive any food stamp benefits. So what I would do is I would kind of make do with getting food on my own from food pantries. Also the women's recovery home that I used to live at, I can go back there for meals. And also on Sundays they get deliveries from Trader Joe's for items that are getting ready to expire, or fresh produce. And so maybe once a month I'm able to go there and get some of that as well. So definitely try to save up for my kids' visit, because I don't want to be like, oh, mommy can't afford. So I would, save up my food stamps and do what I could. So and additionally, there are a couple food pantries that I go to, but I do not have transportation, so that makes things difficult. So I live in a food desert, which means there are no stores that sell fresh produce, protein, or fruits or vegetables within a 5-mile radius of me. Transportation is also an issue. So taking the bus to the grocery store, the food pantry is pretty difficult, especially in the winter months. When it's cold, it kind of stinks to wait, for the bus, pray for it to be on time, go get some food, and then try and lug it home. And my parents did end up giving me, for my birthday, a little cart, but there's still only so much that you can take in the cart through the snow. At the beginning of summer, I began a paid internship here, and I was, because of my financial aid circumstance, I was only going to be paid for 9 hours a week at $12 an hour, which comes to $864 for the 8 weeks. In an attempt to be honest, I reported this to the food stamp FSSA. They in turn cut off my food stamps. I still have not, they said I was no longer eligible based on their calculations. They ignored the details of the internship contract I provided them with, and had my income at $12 an hour, 40 hours per week. In an attempt to reverse this, I've been providing them with documentation. However, every time I turn something in, they request something else. So it's still so that's still a struggle that I'm going through right now. I do go to my parents' home occasionally. I'm always excited to take home leftovers. Last month we celebrated my mom's 75th birthday. We went to Maggiano's as a family, and literally everyone gave me their leftovers. Which I was so happy with. I don't care if people ate on it or not. They're my family. That's fine. I want to talk to you about what it's like to feel to be food insecure. It's embarrassing. It's stressful. It causes me anxiety. I'm already thinking about Christmas and worrying about whether or not I'll be able to afford to give my children presents or not. I don't understand how. And it makes me frustrated. I don't know how in the last 3.5 months my situation has worsened so dramatically. At the beginning of this, I felt like I was food insecure, but it wasn't that bad. Now it's really bad. Additionally, I found out that my financial aid is on hold because right after the semester started, I turned in special circumstance paperwork. Nobody advised me that that after I turned that in, it would be an additional 30 days to have that paperwork reviewed. So I don't even know, let alone where I'm going to eat, but how I'm going to pay my rent in October. Like I said at the beginning of this process, I didn't think I was all that food insecure, and now I definitely am. I was really excited to participate in this, and hopefully I've let you guys know a little bit what it's like. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Beth Courtier, a recent graduate from Ivy Tech here, graduated last semester, and I first met Mary Hanahan last semester, or actually no, a year ago, working at the food pantry, the Bare Necessities food pantry right here on campus. And as I was doing that, she was starting the final steps of her dissertation. That's at the food pantry here at Ivy Tech is where I first started to begin to understand how food insecure as students we are. And I got that as we started to see people come in and out. I saw staff, I saw students, and we saw probably a good 15 to 20 students per week, and then probably at least 5 to 6 of those were on the far side of food insecurity. They didn't have anything at their home. They were living off of what was here at Ivy Tech. And so what does hunger look like? From the perspective of a student like myself, attending school, working to pay bills, and other obligations like Pi Theta Kappa or family obligations, hunger for me was a short, attentive state of mind which, as a student, results negatively. The brain's unable to properly respond to learning and paying attention to class. But for hungry students, maybe they're not like wanting everyone to know. So maybe they don't let their teacher know. Their teacher just thinks they're not attentive in class. Not being aware of the situation, they mark the kid down as unattentive, not participating, not realizing the full extent of what the child is really experiencing. Because we all know if we don't have food, the brain's not going to work. Another thing that, how do we stretch our food dollars? Do we make smart choices when it comes to eating out or going to make healthier choices? For most of my life, I prepared food, healthy meals on very little money. But with both my sons plagued with type 1 diabetes, it makes it difficult. The increases of type 1 diabetes causes you to buy healthier food, whether you want to or not. You have such things as leaner meats, sugar-free items, snacks, lower calorie bread, fruits, vegetables, was a lot more than what I normally had budgeted for. This led me to the solution partially. Take your canned goods, make your own sauces, because a lot of the times the sauces had too much sugar into it. So you would buy the more expensive sauce, the healthy one, and you're spending $4 more for it. Overall, that led me to just making my own sauces and desserts. The only thing with that was, I used a sugar-free substitute. But the thing about that is, it's time. I was a full-time student, worked GPS, and I had to bake the full-time meal. Also, too, like Jim, I earned an honors diploma, and my grade point average never seemed. It was a 3.87 when I graduated, and I'm still at an A at the University of Indianapolis. But right now, all of you in this gallery, I'm sure, know somebody, or you yourself have either know somebody that can't eat certain foods or has to limit it, whether it's a health condition or preference. But through a common sense solution, we can readdress this solution. We can open community centers that can reteach our families, our communities, how to eat or retrain their brains how to eat healthy. It's not a whole entire let's throw the baby out with the bathwater technique. It's let's redo little steps here and there that can make smaller changes over time to lead to a healthier solution. Another one is, if you're not in the food insecure area, you could always start donating more healthier items to your food pantry. Making sure that you're giving somebody that option for who's gluten resistant to be able to have that gluten-free food, or who's diabetic to be able to have that sugar-free food. Because a lot of times, those are the things people who are food insecure have to go out and buy. And food insecurity affects all students like myself. Be less attendance in school, less chances of finishing their academic success, and mental state. We all know mental state's right there with your, but also that could even cost them their full academic success. So just for the love of God, you can throw it back out to the people in the community. And thank you, Mary.
Hello, my name is Claire, and I'm thankful for this study because it really raises awareness about this issue, because a lot of people don't talk about it, like out of sight, out of mind. As a single mom, my story started when my son was about 2 years old, and I had only money to pay the bills. It was rent, utilities, and daycare. That was all I could afford. There wasn't enough money to go get food. And occasionally, if I got some overtime, I would be able to buy meat. And we had a Double 8 down the street. So those little itty bitty packs, that's like $2 and some change for like those very thinly paper thin sliced pork chops or chicken breasts. That's what I could afford. And with a boy, you know, sometimes you'd be sitting there with the Puss in Boots eyes, like, you gonna eat that second pork chop? And I'm like, oh. And I give it to him. You know, so sometimes it would be hard for me because I would give to him so he wouldn't go hungry that night. Now, one thing, you know, there are food pantries, but when you're a single mom and the bus lines only go certain ways and you work daytime hours, it makes it hard for you to access those, because a lot of them are places where you need a car or you have to walk a long way with a baby, you know. So, you know, I could only afford different things like bread, cheese. Many times for dinner we ate grilled cheese sandwiches, ramen noodles, canned vegetables. And when you go to food pantries, they always want to give you peanut butter and jelly. My son can eat peanut butter and jelly. I have a peanut allergy. So he could enjoy that, and I would be looking at him like, dude, seriously? Also, being food insecure, it's been times I look in my refrigerator, I'm like, I feel like one of those frat boys on one of those college movies, because it was only condiments and maybe some cheese, and it was pretty bare, and that one rotten cucumber that everybody has. One thing I believe is that food benefits should be available for a lot of people, including single parents, because my mom, she always believed in a good balanced diet. And my mother, her family is a huge line of Puerto Rican and Cuban immigrants. And she was like, Clara, you eat it like crap, you feel it like crap. So I think about that every time I eat, and I'm like, you know, how can you eat well and you don't have the finances to do it? Many times I applied for SNAP, they told me I was 50 cents over, you know, their guideline. So I was automatically knocked out the boat. I would be angry because I would go to the grocery store and I would see people pushing their cart. They have food benefits and it's full of cookies and cake and donuts and chips and tons of junk food and probably a few filet mignons. And I would say to myself, if I could have that opportunity, I would have fresh fruits and vegetables, lean meats, and, you know, healthy stuff for me and my son to eat. And now my son's 13, about to be 14, and there's still challenges because I'm not a physics major, but they say that your stomach is about the size of your fist, and teenagers blow that theory completely out of the water. Yeah, so, you know, with everything being said, I wish SNAP would have something where your food allotment would be like my plate, where, you know, people would be eating healthy and not really using the system for what it wasn't set up for. But I would like to thank you all for this opportunity and coming to listen to us.
My name is Rajay Richardson. I'm a current student here at Ivy Tech. I graduate college this December. I'm not gonna lie, it's been a rough 2-year journey here at Ivy Tech, but they say your everyday struggle makes you who you are. I've been in and out of foster care since the age of 8 years old. I moved back home when I was 16 years old. Every day was poverty. Sometimes my mom used to have to go without feeding us. So now that I'm an adult, I get it. I understand how it made her feel, because right now in college, I'm going through it. Sometimes I don't have enough money to go to the grocery store and get what I want. At a time, I was getting SNAP, but like the young lady said before, they cut you off. Even if you make 50 cents more, you can get a little 50-cent raise at your job, and that can mess you up right there, where they just entirely cut you off. I couldn't even get insurance through SNAP or anything, so I had to get insurance through my job. How I get through food insecurity, I work at a hotel. We're not supposed to eat snacks in the pantry, but I do because sometimes that's the only way I can eat. Or during the breakfast time of hours at my job, I'll eat breakfast even though I'm not supposed to. I'll sneak and eat there, or buy packs of noodles at the grocery store, like the little ramen noodle packets. Or when you go to the food pantry, they really don't give you a lot of meat. Sometimes they run out of meat, so you can only get what they have to offer, and that's usually a lot of canned goods. So I try to make up some vegetables, mixed vegetables, and eat that with some rice or something. Rice does go a long way, so you can eat that just about every day. And sometimes I just don't have anything at all. Sometimes all I have to do is drink water. But that comes into play with my health. I have health issues. Like if I don't eat, I get really bad headaches. And I'm already strong. Like, so that really makes it a lot worse, like where like I have a fever because I'm not eating. And then having to do midterms and exams and come to class, sometimes you just feel depressed, like you don't even want to do that because how your life is at that moment. But what I come to realize, just because you're going through that situation today, don't mean God can turn this situation around tomorrow. I do go to church every Sunday, so I keep my head in my word. I pray to God that God changes my situation. Sometimes that makes me feel a little better. My pastor always say you don't have to look like how you feel. So a lot of people like may see somebody and not know what they're going through just because how they look, but that don't mean they're not going through something on the inside. During college also, I have went through domestic violence back in 2017, and that made it worse on top of food insecurity because I lost the baby, and then I still had to do school. So I had to balance my personal life and balance school on top of that. Luckily, I didn't fail any of my classes. I thought I was, but I didn't. So it's all about what you make of it. You gotta try to have a positive outlook on life, try to have a positive mindset, and then once you get that college degree, then you can change your situation around. You don't have to struggle anymore like you used to in college. And I feel like just how they have like certain cards for like people like with food stamps, they should have like a certain card for college students. Like maybe, they have a blue card, give them a red card, and they know that that's for the college students so they can eat. Like give them a voucher once a month or something like that, and that can take them a long way. That just doing that for that month, like $200 or $100, that can take them a long way. That can last them through the entire month, just about. Because sometimes I can only spend $100 or $50 at the grocery store. Sometimes I have to work long hours or try to work overtime so I can have more money to go to the grocery store. But I thank you all for this opportunity. Thank you, Mary. And always keep God on your side. Always keep a bright smile on your face, and that can take you a long way.
Wow. When I heard their stories in interviews, I was blown away. I'm blown away today that they actually had the courage to get up in front of lots of people and share their stories. I hope what they shared today is something that will stay with you and perhaps give you an opportunity to be an advocate for students who are food insecure. You might notice around the room there's a couple of food desert maps, and if you happen to live in Marion County, we'd invite you to put a dot where you live. This one has the grocery stores on it, and there's one back there that doesn't have the grocery stores on it. But we just have an idea of where people live and that we really have a severe food desert problem in Indiana, especially in Indianapolis. Thank you again for being here to learn about this important issue. If you know of anybody who would need to see this exhibit, it's open tomorrow and Thursday from 1 to
1 to 4
1 to
tomorrow,
4. Okay.
and 1 to 5 tomorrow, and 12 to 5 on Thursday.
Yes. So they can come again. In your program, there are links to the audio-visual recording, so you could send that to them, or I can get you the link. There's a QR code. If you do QR codes, it'll go get to the link as well. So finally, I'd like to invite you to share some of the lovely food that's been prepared by our culinary and hospitality students. I believe some of the students that shared their information are here if you want to come and ask them questions individually or privately. Again, thank you. I just really appreciate you coming and supporting the students. And I do have one more thing to say to May. She recognized God, and if it weren't for God telling me this is what I needed to do, that this was so important, none of this would have happened. So, thank you.